What a blessing it is to be your friend. Now that we're talking about the seventh house, before we got on the call, I thought how lucky I am to have a friend like you, Bill.
Thank you. I feel the same way. And it is, I think you're right on point as we are talking about the seventh house.
It is interesting who we choose to allow to get close to us
Mhm.
and have relationships with, which is very much the seventh house, and how I guess lucky it is that you let people in in that way, because there is an intimacy about the seventh house versus the other public houses.
Yeah, it is a very, I guess, dynamic house because it is the house where you're really reaching out, you know, and others are reaching out to you. So there's that participation factor in it, which is it's just so much more emphasized in the seventh house. I think it's everything about the seventh house.
What do you think everything is? Is that it becomes
It's participation. The activity, the action point is participation, whereas the action for the fifth house would be play or fun or procreation or expression. Seventh house is participation, whether it's however you, in whatever kind of relationship dynamic that there is, you can't have a relationship dynamic without participation.
without a yeah, perfect, without another person. I mean, this is like the first house, I guess, where you actually really need. I mean, sixth house, a bit you need you really need another person to participate. Oh, I love that word, participation. Yeah, you really there is no seventh house activity, I guess, without dealing with another human. Because I guess the sixth house, you can have pets or whatever too.
Right.
But it's
Or
like the seventh
right.
house, you really need to have another learn to dance with. And I think we go back to this relationship of how to figure it's the scales, but how to be in a relationship with another person and figure out how to get along or be partners. I always say be careful who you go to bed with, but even like partners, right? Because when you go to business and you're business partners, that's seventh house too. If someone works with you, if you're like in a client relationship, it becomes not 10th house stuff, it becomes seventh house because there becomes this relationship, a partnership.
Isn't that you mentioned in bed with? Isn't that an interesting metaphor though? Because it's very accepted to say they're in bed with each other, but we know that it's a metaphor for they're working together or they're really close knit or they're, simpatico. It doesn't mean physically they're in bed with each other. And it's actually to say that is very intimate. It's a very intimate thing to say about other people when they're actually not in bed with each other. But it's so commonplace
They
to say,
are like I always that's so
like,
interesting when they're going
right,
like it's a comment, it's something I say a lot, but think
right,
about if you're going into business with somebody,
right.
there's a lot you end up
Ye-
finding out about them, like you're going to, and then you're going to go into the eighth house because you're dealing with other people's money. But it is so interesting. I never even thought about it. It's a comment I say all the time, all the time. Do you
Everybody, yeah.
want to hear something interesting about a comment? So okay, so I just learned this yesterday that scapegoat, the world word scapegoat. So you know what it was based on? It was based on this, it was a Jewish tradition where they took the two sheep and then one sheep was automatically killed for repentance or something for, and then the second sheep, you would put all your sins on the sheep and then the sheep would be killed. And so it was
Oh,
the scapegoat. It got your all your sins away. So it took all your bad stuff. Anyway, interesting thing about the scapegoat. Another,
yeah, that's an interesting word, scapegoat. I'm glad I know what it means now, but now it makes sense.
yeah, who knew? Who knew? But that would
Yeah.
probably be in the seventh house too, because you go into a relationship with people and then it's easy to blame the other person for your problems, right?
Hmm.
It was back, that seventh house is a hard, it's not as easy as you would think it is.
yeah, you have to develop a lot of skills. You have to, and I think you have to make a lot of mistakes to really to set those skills in stone, because people are so surprising. They're endlessly surprising. So you're always going to encounter personalities that will surprise you in good and bad ways. So but you have to engage with them and learn from them. Even if it's painful, you still have to, you come away with that experience and you learn from it.
Well, I think it's so true. And it goes back to the opposite houses that who am I without the other, right? So do I learn more about myself by having hard times with another person, right? And you said you're going to make a lot, I'm going to make, I make a lot of mistakes in relationships and I have issues in relationships. And then that's how I find out about what I want and what I don't want. And so I do think I think to have any relationship, there's a lot of effort. I've been thinking so much about seventh. I mean, the sun's in Libra, so the energy of Libra keeps coming up around for me. And what does it mean to be in a relationship, but also how to have a relationship that's healthy. And so how much that idea of what codependency is, I've been thinking a lot about that. And that is also the seventh house, that codependency response.
Mm. Yeah, and I think now that you mentioned it, I think that relationships and justice do go hand in hand because when you're in a relationship, you're trying to look for equilibrium. You're trying to find that balance of power, right? Where you give and you take, and you find that balance of that so that you come up with the solution that works for both. And it's a negotiation, but each person wants to find that balance that allows them to benefit. Because if you're in a relationship, you want something, right? Whatever it happens to be, and you to get it there, you have to participate with the other person. It's not a given.
Yeah, and well, that makes me, yeah, right. It isn't a given. And yes, you want something because if you're going to spend your time with somebody else, you're not going to do it and not have anything in return for it. Can't just keep giving and giving and giving, and then the person doesn't give you anything back. There would be no satisfaction in that. I
Mhm.
get no satisfaction. But yeah,
I think sometimes you don't even know what it is you want. It's like how you have these karmic friendships where you just I tell myself this often, we're not really the same age, we don't have exactly the same interests, but there's something there. And so I think yeah, I go into these things not even knowing what it is that I'm in need of. I'm not consciously aware of it. But then as I go through the process with this person, I realize, oh, they're bringing that out, or they're doing that aspect of me that this person showed me how strongly I feel about something, or that I really this is not really where I'm at all. But I didn't know that before I had this relation experience with this person who initiated it.
yeah, and you said something so right on, right? You said something about within me or something that I'm looking for, right? So, and I do think people, it's almost like they're mirrors for us to see
Yeah.
what maybe we want or mirrors to show us who we are, which could drive us crazy,
Mhm.
right? I think you're right. I think most people don't. don't know what they want. And so they we only I always go back, you only know what you want by knowing what you don't want. So when you meet people and you're in a relationship with them, and you're like, yeah, I definitely don't want that. You know what's so funny? My daughter has Aquarius on going into her seventh house. One of my daughters, and one of the things she always says is, I need to be intellectually stimulated, which makes so much sense
Yeah.
because that Aquarius going, that's what she would be attracted to. She needs people that are very intelligent and smart. And I thought, huh, it's so interesting what's even going into that seventh house and what attracts you or what doesn't attract you.
Yeah, I think the element of the house has a lot of influence. I mean, the element of every house does, but because we're talking about other people here, it can present itself to you whether or not you're ready for it, I think.
Yeah, that comes in. That's like what what's coming into your space. I mean, it's so relationships are so fascinating because they really they could drive us mad and they could also be the best thing in the whole world. And it's usually the same person that's driving us mad as the person that is the greatest person in our,
Mhm.
our space. So,
Yes. And it is, you know how people can push your buttons, they can press you and they know how to do that. But I feel like you when you when that button is flashing red hot, you have to take action. You know, it's no longer dormant. It's no longer in your unconscious. It's very much right in your field of view, and you have to do something about it. You know, you have
yeah,
to.
it's like the anger. Well, think about the opposite. It's anger. It's Aries. It's really saying to you what you are being pressed and what do you want, and you better get conscious to know it. But it's hard. It's hard because you have to figure out what it is
Mhm.
that's pinging you, and we don't always want to look at that.
Right. Yeah, and it can take a long time to really figure these things out. I think that's why, therapy can be good for things like this, right? Because you can peel back the layers of that particular thing and come to some conclusions about it.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I have mixed feelings about therapy, but I have a friend who does behavioral therapy, and I think behavioral therapy is very good because then it pinpoints your behavior and your
Hmm.
understanding of how you are versus I think tr therapy where you're just telling the story over
Right,
and over and
right,
over
right,
about the person and the person's at fault. And
right.
yeah, it's I go back to the code, like I had a really hard time. I've had a really hard time understanding codependency, and I think I hit it. I was thinking so Libra energy is a lot about the truth. And so it's when we're not telling someone the truth. Like when we have feelings or we know something's off and we're not actually being honest. I think that's when we're being we're there's something sneaky about it. It's not we're not being truthful.
Right. And I think those things remain buried just under our conscious awareness. And I think that we are uh, contributors to that because we don't want to look at the shadow. We don't want to look at the darkness. So that's definitely shadow work right there. And sometimes, in relationships, our shadows can be reinforced or they can be nicely, put in the bottom drawer, never to be seen from again until something happens, until some relationship interaction brings it back up.
Yeah, so can you give me like so well, it's interesting because the seventh house, well, it's not as hidden, right? Then like you have it's your hidden enemies too. It's like someone that you've been close with and then all of a sudden cannot be close with anymore. And
Right,
that's in the seventh house still. It's like the people that are just downright not your
right,
friends.
right.
But it's a house of friendships. But so here, so for instance, So it's maybe it's a pattern, I guess, that you keep on doing in life, and then it
Mhm.
shows up in relationship. Is that what you mean by shadow? And it shows up, and it's not being honest about it?
Yeah, you can. I can see sometimes people in long-term relationships where there's just a lot of old stuff there, and it's very familiar, and it's just not addressed. And they can together, the partners can non-verbally agree not to address it.
Oh, I'm so not that person. So that's so
You,
interesting. I
yeah,
can't do it. I can't not address it. I mean,
right.
I have, well, I guess with some friendships,
Hmm.
maybe, but most of the time I can't. I can't.
Hmm.
That's
Right.
because Sagittarius is going into mine. So I am
Hmm.
very much
Hmm.
that need the truth and I need to get it settled. And I can't, there it's very fiery. So I guess that might be why I
Hmm.
can't. I
Right.
can't handle when things are not said, when things are
Hmm.
just hidden. I can't have friendships like it. It drives me crazy.
Right. I guess so. An example would be, and this is a very simplistic one, is somebody with a drug problem would be around other people who would not find that a problem at all. So more than likely, they would also have drug issues or some kind of issue. And then you get into these long-term relationships where maybe both the partners have different addictions or the same addiction, but it's kind of reinforcing, and
Oh, okay.
it keeps them from having to deal with what they really need to deal with.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes, and so someone gets clean, then it becomes an issue. So
Yes, it
like
does.
yes, well, it's always like it's like if you become who you're with. So if you don't like what that person's doing, you better not choose that person in your life because
Mhm.
more than likely
Mhm.
you respond to the same way. Yeah, so
Right,
that would make perfect sense. That would be enabling each other to kind of stay
right.
stuck.
Right. And sometimes the one person can be sober and the other person not, and yet it's still kind of codependent because they're both agreeing not to really look at what needs to be looked at because the person who's sober is codependent and
Yeah.
is in the caretaker role. And if they're not in that caretaker role, they feel like I won't even have a personality. I won't even be me if I'm not doing this. So it can get very deep and difficult. That's why these things are so difficult, I think.
Yeah, and they are hidden because I think in some ways I could see that they're hidden because you're replaying relationships from your
Yeah.
mother and father
Hmm.
and feelings that come up. And
Hmm.
so I do see how easy it is to be in relationships that aren't healthy
Hmm.
and what role you're playing. And who
Hmm.
am I, right? If all of a sudden I'm not the person taking care of this person, well then will they still love me? Right?
Hmm.
It's an interesting thing. Why are we loved? Why are we loved? But I
Hmm.
think we also know when we're not. I think that's partly why we numb when we're not telling the truth, when we're not being honest with the people in our life. I think then it's so easy for us to try to be to be distracted. And now we have so much to be distracted by. We have our phones, we have everything. We could be distracted all day long without even
Hmm.
being touching alcohol or drugs.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, which I
And
think,
whether consciously or unconsciously, avoiding things that could, you know, be very um, triggering. But what happens is something happens that triggers those things anyway. And I think that's why we watch drama. That's why I watch drama, right? Because it's all about, relationships, and something happens and how are they going to react. And these characters are going to surprise you by saying what they're going to say and behaving in a way that's, very human.
yeah, that's right. I mean, it is true about movies to watch movies or to read books to understand how people. interact. I never even thought about that. It is a beautiful thing to watch, and
Yeah.
then to see maybe how you can do it better.
Hmm.
There,
Right. And so you're watching all this seesawing of power back and forth, the highs, the lows, and it's someone has the power in one scene and the next person has the power in the next scene. But overall, all those things balance out and come to a conclusion at the end, to a satisfying conclusion, right? So the audience says, "Oh boy, boy, they were in hot water. I had no idea how they were going to get out of it. I couldn't figure this. This is a tough one." But yet, either it's a happy ending or a tragic ending or whatever it happens to be, the it balances out. It finds the solution after all that turmoil. It, it's that's what things tend to do.
yes. Great. There's a movie. There's a movie. It's great. It's with did I tell you about it? It's about this. It's like with Tina Fey and their therapists, or he's a therapist. And oh, it's such a smart movie. It's a very good movie. But I never even heard of it, but it's a very good movie about relationships.
Would you say it's a dramatic comedy or a drama
Wait,
or?
I'm gonna look it up. Wait, you keep
Okay.
on talking. I'm gonna look it up because it is actually a very good. I mean, there's so many movies about relationships, but this one was
Hmm.
actually a very, I was like, how come this wasn't more popular?
Yeah, isn't it great when you find a movie that's under the radar and it surprises you and yet nobody has told you about it and it's real. Yeah, I love that when it
I can't
happens.
even find it here. Isn't that so funny? It was so smart, and it's not even on the internet. I can't even find it. Okay.
Hmm.
I have to
Was
figure
it
it
was it on a street? Did you see it on Netflix or uh
I saw it, I don't know, but it was so good.
mhm,
I sent it to somebody I know, so I don't even know why I'm telling you this because it's such a, but it is a very good movie, and it's all about relationships and how you think, oh, how are they going to get out of this mess? Because it's a mess. You could see like the guy got the husband got himself in trouble. He was talking behind her back, and he got himself in trouble, and it works itself out. And but relationships are funny. You can't understand always how when you're in the problem how you'll get past that problem. But so
mhm,
I've never thought about that with movies. It's really a beautiful example how
mhm,
movies are so, or TV shows are so helpful for us to witness somebody outside of ourselves. I guess that's
mhm.
why people like reality TV so much.
I think so. I think that's exactly. People are fascinated by these other people because they see them in these situations and I want to see how are they going to react? How are they going to behave?
Yeah, and it doesn't make you feel so crazy sometimes when you see somebody else behaving in a certain way. You're like, okay, I guess I'm human. I
Mhm,
am human. But I do think it's important to in relationships to know what you want so you can
mhm,
get what you want. And I think there's
mhm,
something about I made a comment of and the word nice is a very seventh house word, that word nice or Libra. And I always make a comment, well, will someone think I'm not nice if I'm not doing what they don't want me to do? Like, is that what nice is, right? Because a lot of people just want you to do what they want you to do. And then if
right.
you don't do what they want you to do, they're like, you're not so nice. And I'm like, well, I'm not nice. I'm just not doing what you want me to do. So it's really hard, actually, if you think about how to be together in any form.
So what you just said reminded me of a movie that I saw recently. It's called The Women, and it starred Annette Bening and Meg Ryan. There were a bunch of other actresses in it. And it was a remake of an old 1939 movie called The Women. So it was updated. And it was a good movie, but I found the central friendship between two of the women really interesting because one of them had to deal with her really close friend's betrayal. And it was really that's what got me hooked. That's when it got past the niceties of a nice drama, like comedy, lightweight, and it got really kind of into it. Like this was a completely legit, painful betrayal by a close friend of hers, and how is this gonna balance out? You know, it required it, it required monumental inward work to for it to balance out, and it did. So there were a lot of other things going on in the movie that was kind of an ensemble movie, but that was when I really got into it because I'd see the situation seemed very plausible. Okay, she completely betrayed her dear friend who she dearly loves, but I can understand why, even though it's horrible and terrible and you know, not nothing I would ever approve of. I can see why this would happen, and that really drew me in, and made it more complex for me. And of course, then I was invested, and I wanted the resolution. Like I was really in need of, how you guys have to work this out and come get back to a new balance, and they did. Uh, So anyhow, if you come across it, it's called The Women.
Okay, I wrote it down. I'll watch it.
You might like it.
It makes me think of that how important what you just described, how important the corners are, because you have the first house, right, which is the person, then you have the seventh house is the relationship, and then you said like the deep inner work, that's like the bottom of the chart, right, Cancer, and then it takes a lot of work. So it just showed how the link of the cross so well, what you just explained,
Yeah. And
and
it's
and it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort, and there is something very hard about it. And there's no way I think that when you go into any relationship, that there won't be one time or another where somebody hurts the other person in a way that you have to forgive or get over, but it is inner work. It has nothing to do with the other person because you're hurt inside. Oh, in my
I,
heart, because you
yeah,
don't want, and the other person doesn't really want to hurt you. That wasn't the intention, right? It's just things happen. Things,
it's funny you mentioned the ankles because it's like it's the what they call it, the cross of matter. It's in the earth. It's in our experience. We have to deal with these things. If we don't confront them, they confront us. It's just because we're alive. We're living. So these what happened to these two characters, a terrible thing, but not out of the question that one friend would betray another in a terrible way. It's not out of the question.
well, it happens all the time,
Right?
right?
Exactly.
And
So,
business partners and
right.
marriages and friendships and same sex, opposite sex.
Mm.
Humans are humans, right? So we're not so different from one another. I think that there's something so beautiful about movies and TV and even just anyone explaining their lives, how we could see each other in how they could feel because we have feelings like that.
Right. And we get to learn how they figure it out, and maybe we can use those situations as an example to make us better people.
Yeah. Well, we'd hope. I think we're at a point where we're really meant to deal with our feelings, right? And see what they're here to teach us. And you're right, if you don't deal with it, guess what will happen? I mean, it'll always just confront you. You'll be in this grocery store and someone will figure out a way to get you for you to be bothered, right? Or you'll get cut off by a car or right. So it's not just even being in a close relationship with someone. It's I always go back to this. I was at a meditation retreat and we're sitting there and you're sitting there without anyone to blame or whatever. And those feelings are still coming up. They don't leave you just because you're not with another person. But it's much easier to be with another person because you could at least kind of think they're the ones creating
Hmm?
the
Yeah.
problem. So at least you can work it out with somebody. And usually I think you find people that are really meant to work it out with you. All the right people come. I actually do that. I say that prayer every day that all the right people come into my life and all the right, and I'm so grateful.
Hmm.
So, but our the who we spend our time with really matters.
Hmm.
And to take it seriously because I had a teacher once that said, either they'll become you or you become them. So you better make sure that you like that person that you're spending so much time with.
Right. It's, and sometimes that's a lesson that takes a long time to learn. You know, I know it took, it's still, I'm still learning it, but I'm so much more aware of that now. It's absolutely true.
Yeah, I'm a much more aware. I'm like, I really, I always think that how do you feel after you're with somebody is a great way to see if how the energy's working out. So when you're, if you were to go on a date with somebody, right? And then after you leave, how do you feel? Or if you're going to
Hmm.
have a friendship and you
Hmm.
sit there and you talk like we talk, and then
Hmm.
after we leave,
Hmm.
I always feel better. I feel like I feel good.
Hmm.
But then when you walk away and you don't feel good.
Yes, I sure do know that feeling. And and it's funny because I'm thinking of one person who I would have phone calls with, and I would feel that way. And but I couldn't put a finger on it. Why, why do I feel completely drained? I feel terrible. And then I remember if you would call, I would say to myself, I'm not ready. I'm just not prepared. I'm just not in the right space for this call. So then I realized, why am I doing that? Why am I doing that? And then when I'm speaking to this person, why am I being very careful about topics that I bring up or something that I might say because I'm afraid that I'm going to be shouted down or snapped at or interrupted. So all of these things combine to make me feel that this was not something that I enjoyed doing, but I was doing it for so long that it just felt normal. So it took me a while to diagnose it, like to connect all those dots and say, wait, I'm not feeling comfortable when I'm on the call. I feel terrible afterwards, and I'm apprehensive about having a call.
Well, and you're not even being your truest self, right?
Right,
Because you're trying to not be who you are, because
right.
if you are who you are, then you'll be attacked.
Yes,
That's an interesting, I think that's an interesting way also to see that house. Can I be like, who am I being? In
right.
do we, I think we do change a little bit. I think we do change with different people we're with, but do our values change? Does our core change? Am I giving? It's a really interesting question. Yeah, I've been practicing that. Like really, who am I being? Am I trying to fit into somebody else's idea of me, or am I being who I want to be, right?
Hmm.
It's very interesting to think
Hmm.
about why we are the way we are in certain relationships and then not in other ways.
Yeah, I that's a very good point you're making because I definitely feel that I have that Gemini thing about fitting into any group where I'm not forcing myself to do it. It's just when I reflect on it, I see that, oh yeah, this group, I'm this way with that group and this way with that group, and it has to do with how I know them, why we're, you know, I mean the Toastmasters group would be an example. You know, I play pickleball with different people. The vibe there is different. And then I have my old friends and they know me in ways that my newer friends would probably be very surprised at. But I can be so relaxed, and I have such a long history with these friends that it's
No, I mean that makes sense because well, that's actually interesting just because in a way that's friends. Those are people that you in a deep
Mhm,
way versus like the Toastmasters, which is much more 11th house, right? I mean, we're seventh house
right.
relationships, the Toastmasters more, but I would think in groups, when you go into groups, that really is 11th house.
Mhm,
And people won't know you in the same way or the same comfort zone. But it is interesting, like when does it become the seventh house relationship? I think when it's more one-on-one. But I do
mhm,
think it's very Gemini. I also think there's also something about being versatile, right? That you're
yeah,
able
yeah,
to to talk to different people and you're not just stuck into one way.
mhm.
But here's my question for you. How about people where you've been friends with for a really long time and then you have made these change, you've probably changed and do they
Mhm.
still see you is in the same way?
I
That's
think,
an interesting
yes,
thing too.
I think they do because I still see them as they were when I knew them when we were all really young. They're still,
Maybe you're more authentic when you so like I still sometimes get on a phone call with someone when I was younger and it's like there's no space between us. There's this
yeah,
comfort level.
yeah,
And it's almost so nice.
yeah,
It's so easy. Like I'm not trying
yes,
to do anything. They don't want anything from me. It's
yes,
such a treat. It's like, okay, this is so, it's weird though. It's been when I was much younger. It was like from high school and then into college age, those people,
yeah,
it's very different, very nice,
yeah,
easy. And
yes.
we don't
So,
get into bad habits. It's kind of just nice.
oh, it's great. So I've had these friends that I've had since I was in grammar school, high school. There's a bunch of us. We don't, we see each other very rarely. We don't talk to each other very often. But when we do, it's like we never put the phone down. And, and like we start up the conversation that we had 20 years ago. It's like no time has passed. But then, like I feel when I'm off the phone with you, I feel nourished when I'm off the phone, even though we did nothing but, either rag on each other or just bring up embarrassing stories or laugh our heads off. I mean, it's really not, we didn't have a deep conversation about the meaning of life at all. But but it felt like it. It felt it felt like a really powerful conversation, even though we were just shooting the breeze.
It's love. I mean, it goes back to
Yeah.
love. I do think, first of all, if a person that's been in your life for that long and you're still communicating,
Mhm,
or even just this relationship, there's something about the word love, right?
mhm,
There's something so nice.
mhm,
And maybe it's nice that people don't want anything from us. The people from a long time ago, they really don't want anything from us. They just are so happy,
mhm.
or at least my people, right? It
Yeah,
feels there's no pressure.
yeah, yeah. It's
I think those friends stay. And that's why
yeah,
those are people that stay. And think about all the people that you met too when you were younger or that did not stay. They just go on their way.
yeah. It's a great, it's a. I feel very fortunate that I have that aspect to my life.
But also, it makes me think about, you remember how you said that what in relationships people want something,
Hmm.
but old relationships like that, they really don't want anything. They just want you. They
Right,
just like you. They're not trying to get something
right,
out of it.
right.
I wonder if there's that knowing that someone likes us. I would always wonder what it must be like to be famous, right? Because how do you know if someone likes you for you or like who are you? But there's a soul knowing, or if they like you because of your lifestyle or for
Sure.
your how you're seen out in the public way.
Yeah, yeah. It's just great to know that I have a deep connections. It's very reassuring.
Well, friendships are really important, and I think people are really important. And I think we don't acknowledge how important it is for us to have people in our lives that we love, that we feel safe with, that are willing to, I think you go back to the cross, that are willing to do the work with you, right?
Hmm.
And deal with the problems. And I was thinking, could you imagine? I was thinking about Nicole Kidman and how you would get a divorce, which I would think is also like the relationship breaks, and how hard it would be to be in that public way, how much harder that is. It's hard enough to have a relationship not work out, but then to have the whole world see it. Because it's still a very private house if you think about it. I mean, it's if you just think about the chart and it's just the beginning of going out into the world.
Hmm.
Anyway, relationships are very, it's just very interesting.
Yeah, they're always surprising, right? Because it's not something you can control so much as roll with. It's like I said, constant negotiation and adjustment and
Compromise,
compromise, communication,
understanding what I,
sacrifice sometimes.
yep,
Sometimes you say, okay, you first. I get it. I'm yours. It's you. I'll be your wingman.
yeah. Even
Oh,
just about like think about your everything. There's no way you could have two people, right? And not do what you want all the time. It has to be that you have to give something,
right,
or else the relationship, if you're not getting it, if you aren't getting anything out of it, you will not stay.
right.
So,
And our existence, everything about our existence relies on relationships. Everything. The reason we're here is because of a relationship. The reason that we can go throughout our day, everything we do, it's the the structure of our lives are built on relationships. The mailman, brings your mail, everything.
yeah, the person at the checkout counter, right, that you're interacting with is the person. I mean, there's no way we cannot live our life. I always like that about COVID. I had such a beautiful feeling about COVID because they appreciated so many people that we just kind of take
Right,
granted. And all
right.
of a sudden, they became people we
Yeah,
acknowledged, saw, and they're, and in a way, you're right. We're in relationship with them, even if it's not that personal. But it is a
mhm,
one-on-one relationship somehow. There is an interaction of private in a private way.
yeah,
I never really thought about that. Yeah. We need each other. I
yeah,
would say if people are going to drive you crazy, but they're also thank God for them.
yeah,
I will not go to a rest. I will not go to the store and use one of those machine checkouts. I will not do it. I am
yeah.
adamant because I'm like, and because these people are so excited, they're like, "Oh, look at this!" And I'm like, "This is your job.
Right,
You're gonna not have a job, so you can't be that
right,
excited about this machine that could check me out. I need to see you and I need to appreciate you, or else I
right.
could just order Amazon, and then I guess that someone's dropping it off in my house. But
Hmm.
it's yeah, seventh house is a very interesting place, and learning to deal with people is the greatest gift we could give ourselves. I will say to you.
Yeah, there's a lot of learning involved in the seventh house.
Yeah. And I think mostly learning about ourselves. I love that you said that. When we can learn about ourselves, then we can change things and we get to change our relationships with people. And I've actually done a lot of this, and I have changed a lot of my relationships simply by changing myself. And not changing myself to fit into their context, but changing how I ask for things, changing my clarity about what I need with somebody. So,
Yeah,
well, as I started the conversation, I'm so grateful that we moved from an 11th house relationship to a seventh house relationship.
hmm,
It does feel like a blessing.
hmm, definitely.
And I always say to you, if I bother you, you have to let me.
Oh, yeah, I will. You'll know for sure.
You have to
I
let me
mean,
know. I think that's a really good message though for anybody because it's like if someone's bothering you, you have to let them know. You can't let
mm,
things
mhm,
stew because
mhm,
that's where things are so easy to create a problem.
mhm.
So I'm not driving you crazy yet.
Not at all. Not at all.
Well, I'm grateful for you.
I'm grateful for you.
I can't wait to talk about the eighth house. Then
Yes.
talking about going into bed with each other. That would be much more appropriate for that line.
That's well timed.
Did I
Thanks.